Hi, people. How are you?
Hello,
Hi,
doctor. How?
doctor. How are you?
Sorry I was late, but I was out on an urgent business and I'm just back. So sorry for being a little bit late.
It's okay, but we are afraid something happened for you.
You are what? Sorry.
Afraid about you. Worry about
Ah,
you. Yeah,
no, I'm in
we
Turkey.
think
Nobody's
something
going
happened.
to kidnap me, so don't worry. I'm okay. Okay.
Okay, good.
So today we will move to Sam Shepard's play, American playwright. We have this time Sam Shepard and his play, The Buried Child. The play was written in 1978, the year I was born. And I dealt with this play in my PhD thesis. I wrote a chapter on this play. Uh, And actually, I love it so much because it contains a lot of absurd features. Since I'm a big fan of absurd drama, it contains a lot of absurd features, but it's not an absurd play because I think I said that before. From the 70s and up, in drama, the favorite uh, the favorite style of writing was to combine the absurd with the realistic. I mean, with realism. And you'll find it in most of the plays that's written from the 70s and up, like The Buried Child. You have this mixture, this odd mixture between the realistic and the absurd. And Shepard, when he was young, still young, uh, there were movements like one of them is off Broadway movement, the one he was writing with. This off Broadway movement gave chance to new writers to present their plays. One of them was Sam Shepard, and he made a huge success. So the good thing about such movements is that they gave chance to those writers who nobody knew about them. They were quite young and still immature to present their work, and some of them became a hit, like The Buried Child. Of course, one of the things, I don't know if the person who's dealing with themes covered that, but one of the things that hugely affected Shepard in writing this play was the aftermath of the Vietnam War, uh, because Shepard's father went to Vietnam War, and when he came back, he was completely a different person. Dodge character is based on Shepard's father. He has this autobiographical touch in Dodge's character. He made it after the character of his own father after the Vietnam War, because his father came back home completely different. He was alcoholic. He was angry all the time. He sat in front of the TV doing nothing. So the Dodge character is based on Shepard's father character. And in more than one of his plays, actually, Shepard dealt with the effect of the Vietnam War on American people, on the soldiers, on their families. Okay. Now, if we come to the play, it's about the American West, because Shepard was in love with presenting the legend of the West. You know that for Americans, the West was representing for them that image of the cowboy and the heroism and the heroic character. But what Shepard presented was completely the opposite. We have downfall of the heroic West, or the Western idealization of the hero figure. We have the West degenerating into completely different figure from the heroic past, And again, this wasn't the only play in which he was discussing that. He presented that in many of his plays, the image of the degenerate West, like Tennessee Williams did with the South. You remember when we talked about the glass menagerie, we said Tennessee Williams was talking about the degeneration of the South. Shepard was doing the same thing, but with the West this time, not with the South, with the legend of the West. Okay. So what he was doing in this play, he was blending different themes and different ideas about the American society in general, about the Vietnam War on one hand, about the degeneration of the American West on one hand, on the failure of a whole generation on another hand. So we have a mixture of cultural background. It's very important for you to understand so that you understand what the play is about. Now, if we come to the buried child, it's a very remarkable play, and you will not appreciate it till you read the text, because I know reading the summary gets you nowhere. But still, it contains a lot of themes, a lot of important symbols. We'll talk about them. But first, let me see your first impression about the play. And my favorite question, what do you think this play is about?
Hello, Doctor.
Yes?
Yes, Doctor. My impression on this play, I think this play is about the failure of the families, the American families. What's happened in this play is remind me about the play of The Death of Salesman. It seems that is a repetitive play. Uh, we have this family is a destructed family. Uh, they have this kind of issue between them. They uh, run away from their problem, their fail to nowhere. It's the things became completely difficult. The life became completely difficult, and it's like that's play. It's about the failure of the family, the failure of the American dream. There is no achievement at all.
What do you mean there's no achievement?
The family, it's like the that's a play. Beth was they hold all the hopes on Beth. Here they hold all the hopes on their older son, and he was a good character, a good young man, and then he became failure when they made the sin with his mother.
No,
Look like
they did not put hope on their eldest son. No, on the contrary, they were having hopes for their youngest son. What was his name? Let me remember his name. What was his name? S with S.
Ansel?
Ansel. Ansel. Yeah, exactly. Ansel. Yeah. Why are you comparing this to Death of a Salesman? There is nothing in common, by the way.
look like the same problem, family problem.
No, completely different. No, you are mistaken. It has nothing to do with Death of Salesman. At all. Mm. Okay. Others, what do you think about the play?
Okay, doctor. The play show our express vision of the American society as having lost its future independence and opportunity, and shows how the relation between Dot's family and member is so bad. Each member of the family afraid of other, and they live in alienation and loneliness.
Mm.
Yes.
Okay. Other ideas?
Okay, that's
Yes, okay.
Mm.
Can I talk?
Yes.
I think this play was about loss of identity as a whole. I feel like all
Mm.
of them, the characters have lost their way and their identity and a sense of who they are really and their place in their family as the play progressed, of course, and through their lives. And that's what caused this whole tragedy, let's say, this whole like very complicated, confusing, but also sinful fate of theirs.
Okay. Any other ideas?
yes, that's
Yes.
I think this play is about how the middle class American family lost the virtue. I mean, how they fall from the grace, like because they are escaping from their past, their sins, they are covering it, and at the end they have a shattering mind. They try to reject the past. They reject what happened.
Mm.
I think it's what it's about.
Okay. Um, well, since you should have paid attention to that. I told you this play is a mixture between the absurd and the realistic, which means what? Since we have absurd drama, it means this play deals basically with the question of existence. But unlike Beckett, who approaches his play, unlike absurd dramatists who approach their plays from a surrealistic point of view, Shepard is approaching his play from a realistic point of view, not surrealistic. That's why we have a normal family. We have a specific timing, a specific place. We have a house. We have different characters. We know their roots. We know who they are, from where they are coming, and what are their problems. But what makes it absurd is what? Is that each character of those is going through a serious problem of dislocation. They do not know what their existence is supposed to mean. They are all confused, all shattered. As your colleague said, suffer from identity crisis. They are completely alienated, dislocated, isolated. So they cannot find a meaning for their existence. Language also is used after the example of the absurd theater, although dialogues here are more comprehensive, but still we have a problem with language. Each character seems to talk, but the others are not listening. Dodge is talking all the time, nobody listens. Haley is talking all the time, nobody listens. Tilden is in a world of his own. Vince, when he comes home, he tries to communicate, nobody listens. So we have this essential problem of language dysfunction. We have dysfunctional language. We have a problem of communication. This is another major absurd feature, which is connected to the dislocation or the isolation thing. We have ritualistic attitude, again taken from uh, absurd drama. So rituals. We have rituals like Dodge's blanket, like his hat, like the sofa. When he dies, he's replaced by Vince. He puts on his hat and sits at the same sofa and watches the TV, like him watching the TV. We have this routine. We in theater of absurd we call it routine. The same routine here is the same absurd routine we have here, represented by the character of Dodge, and replaced later on by the character of Vince, which give the play a what kind of emotion it gives the play? You tell me. Another absurd feature.
Repetitive, circular.
Circular, exactly,
Circular.
exactly circular motion, which gives the play a circular motion. Okay, so we have a lot of absurd features. By the way, who's covering the style? This should be the job of the person who's covering the style. Who's
I
covering the
am, ma'am.
style? Or did you talk about that in style? All that?
I I talked more about the devices like symbolism and also the archetypes that he portrayed in the play.
But you did not talk about absurd features?
No, but I did mention that they exist. I just didn't go in detail into them because I didn't actually read the play. I just read them.
The most
No.
important thing about the play are the absurd features and how they are used in a realistic manner, how they are connected to the concept of realism. How is it connected? It's connected in the fact that we have everyday life presented to us in front of our eyes. Because you remember when we defined realism, we said it's a slice of life. School. You everything that you see in everyday life is put in front of you on the stage. The same thing with the Dodge House. We are in the kitchen, we are in the sitting room watching TV, people making food, Haley dressing, going out. This is what completely realistic. Okay, and it's curious how the realistic is being mixed with the absurd. It's a very, very interesting combination. And that's what I told you. You won't understand it or you won't appreciate it fully till you read the text. When you read the text, you understand what I'm talking about. It's really nice to or interesting to see how the absurd features are being intermingled with the realistic features. Okay. Now let's start with the play itself and see what kind of ideas was Shepard trying to communicate to us. What is he trying to do in this play? Who's responsible for themes?
I'm responsible, Victor.
Mm-hmm. So what are the most important themes in the play? What is Shepard trying to tell us?
Yes, I have identity and failure and American dream and preparation.
Mm-hmm.
Should I start?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hello, guys. You are going to discuss on the themes of Sam Shepard's play, Buried Child. The first one is identity. Identity is one of the major themes in the play as each character struggles to come to terms with who they are and often has difficulty remembering or understanding who they are, especially in relation to the dead child. Dodge struggles with his relationship to his identity as a patriarch of the family. He has fallen from his position to eminence and is relegated to the couch, sneaking whiskey, while his wife blatantly carries on an affair with a priest. Haley struggles with her identity as a mother, remembering about her dead son Ansel, but paying very little attention to those who need for her most. Tilden is particularly haunted by the question of identity, having struggled to live up to the glory he once had as a high school player. He is now a pathetic shell of a man who can barely move forward with his life. Finally, the question of identity is thrown into focus by the dead child buried in the backyard. The family members are struggling to keep up a forehead of a family unity and togetherness. But this is hiding a dark and horrifying secret and completely tarnishes their reputation and has changed each of their identities for the worse. In addition, to this relatively straightforward examination of identity, the play itself explores the notion of identity by staging many misunderstanding and misidentification. Dodge and Tilden barely recognize Vince when he enters the house, but also do not throw him out and or question him more about who he is. Vince and Shelley, both outsiders, and seem to get strangely absorbed into the logic of the house, in spite of the fact that no one knows or recognizes who they are. At the same time, they experience a strange pull towards the house and a familiarity. Both Vince and Shelley seem to recognize the home as theirs, even though Vince hasn't been there for 6 years and Shelley has never been. In this sense, Shepard examines the question of identity by suggesting that perhaps there is no such a thing and that we shed and take on different identities all the time. Indeed, in Buried Child, identity is not a stable category, but an ever-changing designation which others are constantly either giving or snatching away. The second theme is failure and American dream. Each of members of the family in Buried Child is in some way a representation of a failed attempt at achieving different parts of American dream, prosperity, freedom, family, and happiness, usually represented by owning one's home and raising a family. Dodge was once a prosperous farmer, but his farm is now in utter disrepair and, according to him, has not produced anything in years. Now basically immobile from illness and alcoholism and old age, he lives in bitterness, entirely subject to the whims of others. Further, his act of murdering the baby of Tilden and Haley is what led to the failure of his family. His morality as father figure did not support his family, and instead it was so harsh that it destroyed it. Haley sought the American dream in her family and its continuation, yet an intense admiration for her football-playing son Tilden led to a sexual inappropriate relationship with him. Now, the reaction of the act have resulted in her family falling apart. Two of her children are alive but burned out, and at least one more is dead. She experiences extreme discontentment in her marriage, and to escape uses mixture of hypocritical religiousness and promiscuity. Sheldon had at one time left the farm from New Mexico, presumably in search of some kind of autonomy after the murder of his child, but has returned under misty but nefarious circumstances. He is seemingly mentally disturbed and is treated like a child. Tilden's choice to leave the farm and his mandated return to it represent a failure to go out and secure his own prosperity and freedom. Likewise, Bradley, the middle son, would perhaps have been capable of taking over and operating the farm, but he lost a leg, and because of this is unable to assume the leadership role he desires. His physical disability makes it difficult for him to live independently and happily, and he takes his bitterness out on his family. At the outset, Vince seems to be character most likely to break out of the pattern of the failure and stagnation in his family. Vince is an artist with a beautiful and intelligent girlfriend, and he has left rural Illinois to pursue a music career. The story of his escape from Illinois to the city to pursue his dream of playing saxophone in many ways embodies the American dream. in the modern American dream. Yet he returns to visit his family and tries to connect to his past. And though what he finds is horrific, he cannot escape its pull. At the end of the play, even though Vince will presumably assume the leadership role at the farm, another embodiment of the American dream, he has also given up his relationship with his girlfriend Shelley, his own personal dreams, and perhaps even his sanity. The third theme is repression. A great deal of the play is centered around the secret of the buried child and the repression of this secret. Because it is a title, the audience spends much of the play wondering what the story of buried child is, if it is an actual event or a symbol. As the play progresses, we learn that the buried child is a real and the characters are doing all that they can to keep the secret safe. Many of the conversations throughout the play seem to cover up this brutal and shameful family secret, diversion from the actual distracting truth. Preparation and disclosure of secret
And
come
if
up.
we take it from a symbolic point of view, what would the better child stand for?
Sorry,
If we take it from a symbolic point of view, what would the better child stand for?
uh, Very child is a symbol of shame and shame, secrets, and the destruction of familial bonds.
Hmm. Okay. And the fact that once the child was buried, the cornfield in their backyard did not grow corn anymore. But by the end of the play, Tilden comes in having corn husks in his arms. So corn started to grow. Why now? Why the corn started to grow now? What do you think, people? Why the corn started to grow now at this specific moment in the play? Although we are told for years corn did not come out.
Can I answer that?
Mm.
I feel like when the
Hello? Hello? Your voice is, I can't hear you. Your voice is not coming. I don't know what happened to Manan. Uh,
May I, Doctor?
mm,
I think the bear child is referring to Heli when the corn grow up. It's represent Heli matter. It's can't she can't give birth or live her life because she buried her child. She was living suffering all these years, but after she they bring this child out from his grave, and she has this kind of I can um, comfort. She became a comfort because she saw his body. I think she needed that
my
to.
question was, Mortala, my question
Yes.
was, it has nothing to do with Haley or the child. My question was, at their backyard, they did not grow corn husks for many years. Now, why at this specific time in the play, the corn husks started to grow in the backyard? Yes, Melissa?
Yes, doctor, because the buried child arrived home again and they
Mm.
faced with their past. I mean, they confessed what they had done, what they did, what they did. When the child, I mean, I think it's Vincent, right? When Vincent died, the crops were dead, and when he came back again, like in his
Who died?
at the end of the play, it appeared like Vincent was dead already, like a ghost. Am I
What?
wrong?
What?
Oh, am I wrong?
Your voice is not clear. I don't know what's wrong with you all today. All your voices are not clear. Who is dead and who came back?
I think Vincent was dead. He was the buried child,
Oh
and
my God, now you got it all wrong, Melissa.
really, well, I thought like this because when Vincent came back, I mean,
No, no,
when
no.
Vincent arrived, he came with the corn, and when
Did you read the summary of the play?
no, I read the play. Oh,
You read the play
yeah,
itself?
it's, yeah, it's 100 pages.
And then how did you
I mean,
misunderstood all
my
that?
imagination, man. I'm sorry, but I got it like this. I was
Okay,
very
I'll tell you
ignorant.
what happened. No, no, I'll tell you what happened. Vince is Tilden's son. He has left for the big city to achieve his dreams. The buried child is conceived by Haley from an ancestral relationship with supposed to be Tilden. And when Dodge knew about it, he killed the child and buried it in their backyard. Has nothing to do with Vince. Vince is a real character.
Okay.
He's
I
Tilden's
thought
son.
Vince is the ghost of that buried child. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. No, no, no. They are two different characters. When Tilden comes in with the corpus of the dead child, it's at that moment that Dodge dies, and Vince takes his place on the sofa, telling us that what this is hugely symbolic, of course, telling us that a new family cycle has started now with Vince being the head of the family instead of Dodge. Why Vince? Because Tilden is mentally disabled. Bradley is physically disabled. Ansel is dead. So the only one who is mentally and physically okay is Vince. He takes his place on the sofa to replace Dodge. But although he's mentally and physically okay, the fact that he takes Dodge's place makes a huge question mark on the whole matter. It means he will be a replacement for Dodge. So another maybe tragical cycle for the family will start. Corn husks is a symbol that's connected to all that. Symbols in this play are very important. One of the explanations is what? Manal is gone. I don't know why. I was curious to see what is her explanation for that, but she just disappeared. Manal, are you there? I can't see her. Manal, are you there? Because apparently she had an explanation. Let the corn husks stand. If we want to analyze this, does they mean? We can analyze from different two points of view. First one is that when the baby is being killed and buried, the soil has been contaminated by sin. So the corn dies because a sin was committed there. The soil has been contaminated, affected by this terrible act of infanticide. Although it wasn't Dodge's child, but it's his grandchild because it's his son's and his wife's child. So this sin of infanticide contaminates the soil. So the corns die. By the end of the play, corn start to grow again, bringing the baby's corpus out with them, as if the soil wants to reveal the sin, as if nature wants to throw this sin in the face of those who committed it. So the soil refuses this sin, so it starts to throw it out with the growing of the corn husks. So when we have the corn husks, the baby corpus is being thrown outside. All right. This is on one level. On the second level, the meaning of the corn husks. Corn has its classical connection with the legend of, or sorry, the myth of fertility. Corn is a symbol of fertility. So the soil, when Dodge was alive, the soil was dead. There was no fertility because Dodge committed a sin. By the end of the play, the corn husks come out, symbolizing the beginning of a new cycle of fertility, with the death of Dodge and Vince taking his place, representing a new blood in the family, representing a new cycle in the family. Beginning a new family. So the corn is being linked to Vince as a new cycle of fertility beginning. It's important to understand that. Okay. So that's how we can see the corn or analyze the corn on these two levels of meanings. Okay. All right, this is concerning the corn. Yes, are there other themes left?
No, doctor.
Finished?
Yeah, that is.
What were the themes? Remind me again.
Identity,
Mm.
and failure and American dream, and third one is repression.
Mm. I can't see where is American Dream in this play, to be completely honest. I cannot connect it to American Dream. It's not connected to American Dream. It's connected to the legend of the West and how the West is going through different cycles of degeneration. Because, as I said from the beginning, the West used to represent the American heroism, connected to that legends of the cowboys, you know. With passage of time, this idol of heroism fell from favor. The American West is no more seen as a land of heroism. On the contrary, as Shepard represented here is completely different from our concept of heroism. Yes, Melissa?
Hello, Doctor. I think he said American Dream because Vince was far away and he was working probably. And when he came back, his father told him to become a dependent individual. Maybe it's about this, to become independent.
Sorry, what? Who become independent?
His father was worried about his dependence on his father. What was his name? I forgot. I'm sorry. Maybe it's because of
I think she talked about Vance.
Venice.
Vince and his father. Sorry, I forgot his name.
Tilden.
His father.
Tilden.
It's Dodge.
No, Dodge is the grandfather of Vince. Melissa, what's wrong with you
I'm
today?
sorry. I don't know. I totally got it wrong. I'm sorry. I swear I read the play.
Okay,
I'm
Vince.
totally confused. I'm so sorry.
Vince is the grandson of Dodge. Tilden is his father.
Exactly, yes, exactly. But
Okay.
somebody was saying twins, you should be independent.
Mhm.
Uh, don't become dependent on us. Something like this.
Mhm.
Maybe it's why he said as a
Mm.
team American Dream.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Doctor,
Huh.
I think the writer here want to talk about family degeneration because when I read the summary of the play, what I saw, it's the family is reshaped. There is no the classical form of the family. We don't
Definitely, of course.
see
Of
a
course,
guide for a
degeneration
mm,
is one of the main themes. Yeah, of course, definitely. Not
we
only
don't
the not only the family. We have the entire West going through degeneration. We have the family. We have the individuals. We have the community in a whole. Because we've
that
seen Father Dawson, who was supposed to be priest, is having a liaison, having an affair, committing adultery with Haley. The entire community is being seen as degenerating, not only the family. So definitely, degeneration is one of the major themes. By the way, the title of my PhD dissertation, in which The Buried Child was one of the plays that I tackled, the title of my dissertation was Loss and Degeneration. I worked on these two themes in the different plays that I've chose. Loss and degeneration. So definitely, degeneration is one of the main themes. Okay.
doctor.
Hmm.
But I think there is a cause behind this degeneration. I think the wars that happened, like Vietnam Wars, the World War, it's make this degeneration in the American families. I remember my mother always talk about my father when he returned from the war of
Mm,
Iran war and
mm.
Kuwait war. He became a different man and became difficult man. He can't express his emotion.
Of course.
I think it's the main idea behind the writer, what he want to deliver is the war put an effect on the families and everywhere. And this is the effect. It's caused the degeneration.
Of course. Definitely. This is something very much common, and we all know about it because most of the soldiers who come back from war, they either suffer from shell shock or they suffer from PTSD. That's post-traumatic stress disorder. This is something very common, and we all know about that. And this is one of the aftermaths of wars, definitely. And I said from the beginning, one of the influences on Sam Shepard, one of the themes that he tackled in his plays was the aftermath of the Vietnam War and its effect on people, definitely. But that's not the only reason. Because what here, for example, in the play, we don't have any reference to the Vietnam War whatsoever. We don't have a reference to any kind of war. But Shepard wants us to understand that the Dutch family represents how we say it. I forgot the word. Yeah, the Dutch family are like the atom, like an atom to the whole society. Because, anything, any kind of material is made of small atoms. Small atoms gather to make up a material. So the Dutch family is an atom that makes the entire society. So when society degenerates, it starts from the smallest atom or the smallest part, and that's the family. When the family starts to fall over, when the family starts to be dysfunctional, then society as a whole will be dysfunctional. When degeneration starts from one family and spreads around, then the whole society will suffer from degeneration and confusion. That's what Shepard is trying to say. He gives you one family, Dutch family, as an example of what happens to society when families start to fall off. For him, that's the most important unit that makes society, family. For Beckett, for example, he saw it from a different point of view. For him, the problem was with individuals, with each individual. For Shepard, he sees it from a different angle. He sees it as a problem of a family. Because what makes society successful or failure is people, families. When you come to one family and you find that there are no ties, that there is sins being committed like incest, like infanticide, when there is no communication between family members, when there is aggression between family members, because we've seen in the Dutch family, we have both physical insults and emotional insults. We have physical abuse and we have emotional abuse. When there is aggression between family members, either emotional, verbal, or physical, it means this family is not okay. It's not correct. It's not healthy. Definitely not healthy. And we've seen that in the example of Bradley. His name was Bradley, right? If I still remember well. His name was Brad or Bradley?
Right, actually.
Bradley? Okay. Yes, okay. Bradley is very aggressive towards his father, towards his brother, towards Shelley, who is a complete stranger. He assaults her physically and emotionally and verbally. He assaults Shelley. He assaults Dodge physically when he shoves his hair. Vince also. Vince has an aggressive character. This can be seen when he comes back drunk and he starts to smash whiskey bottles. Yes, Melissa?
Yes, doctor. I want to comment on what you just said about there is no war in this play mentioned, but I think there may be some parts of it because Win was disappeared from stage for a while, just like Haley, I think, just like Haley did. He
Yes.
disappears, and when he comes back, he sings songs of battle.
Yeah.
He mentions about Tripoli, and there was a war in Tripoli, and he punctuates some certain words like Montezuma, Tripoli, and battles and the sea. Maybe it may be a reference for the war of the playwright.
What I meant,
But
Melissa, is that when I said there is no, what I meant is that we don't have a character who is directly connected to. For example, we don't have a soldier back. That's what I meant. We have some phrases reference definitely, but what I meant is that we don't have direct info. For example, we don't have a soldier who's back home. That's what I meant to say. While in some other plays of Shepard, we have such characters who are directly in contact with war, but not in this play. That's what I meant. Okay. Now coming back to the idea of assault, which is one of the major focal points in the play. As I said, the physical assault and the verbal assault and the emotional assault. As I said, we have a tense amount of aggression in the play. Bradley, I said, is aggressive character. Vince is an aggressive character. Dodge is an aggressive character because he kills the baby and because he keeps on attacking Haley. So we have a family of males who apparently suffer from aggressive features. They are violent by nature. And this is a very important theme in the play, the theme of violence. Those men seem to have a kind of a disorder. They are aggressive, they are violent, and they wouldn't hesitate even to commit a crime like Dodge when he kills the baby. He didn't hesitate at all. Okay, so we have aggressive male characters in this play. Actually, this is a very good idea to maybe somebody can write about that. Maybe I can write a paper about that. The male characters in the play being quietly aggressive. While the female characters, we see them as submissive. Haley, for example. Although Dodge kills her baby, but she's submissive. She doesn't do anything about it. Shelley, quiet, submissive, and being dominated by both Vince and Bradley. So the female characters, on the other hand, in the play, seem to be timid and dominated by the aggressive male characters. Okay.
Doctor,
Mm.
may I ask you about the sin? What was the biggest sin? Killing that baby or bringing him to life in that way?
Well, it
What
depends
should
on how you see it. Depends on how. For personally, I see it as equal.
it's equal? What should Dodge do to that boy? Leaving him alive or killing him?
You think it's
Something.
better to kill the baby?
No, I don't think. No. There's no one deserve to be killed
He
because
could.
he.
They could have put the baby for adaptation, for example. There are a lot of couples who cannot have children. They could have adopted the baby if he's unwanted. But to kill the baby, what's the baby's sin? He's just an infant.
But I think killing him and ending his suffer for for all his life. If
Why
they
would
will,
he suffer? Why?
he will suffer, of course, because he will be
Mortala,
an orphanage.
Mortala,
because
leave this Eastern way
not
of thinking.
history. No,
Mortala, leave
please,
this
Dictator.
Eastern ideology. The baby could have been given to a couple who cannot have children, and they could have raised the baby as their own. Full stop. Where's suffering in the middle of all that? The baby wouldn't know. He will have a normal life.
Maybe, but maybe he will still an orphanage and he will suffer all his life because he.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily, no. A lot of kids in orphanages had a very successful life. They finished their education, found jobs, became independent, and they became normal people. Not necessarily, no. Or a family, a couple who cannot have children could adopt the child and raise him like their own, and he will have a normal life. There's nothing wrong about that, but to kill it? I mean, seriously? Who has the heart to kill a baby? After all, only a monster can do that. Who has the heart to kill a baby?
It's happening all the days in this world. They kill the baby all the time.
Because the
Because
world is being ruled by monsters. That's why. That's the reason.
I saw kind of films. It's the name of the film was the Kidder House release or something. It's talking about this kind of relations and the new baby born without parents. It's a horrible thing when you see it.
Yeah, I know. I know a lot of
better.
children have been abused around the world, especially children without families, but that's not our point. We are not talking here about child abuse or child labor. We are talking about a different matter, the concept of killing a baby simply because you don't want it. This is a huge crime, of course, a huge sin. A huge sin. Only a monster can do that. Okay? As for which sin is more terrible, the incest or the killing of the baby, they are equal. They are equal. Both are terrible, terrible sins that you cannot comprehend. To say which one is worse, you cannot really say which one is worse. Both are terrible. And it is, and if we ask the question why shepherds specifically chose such kind of sins, because when do society really degenerate? When we can say that this society is cursed? When can you say that?
Such things happen, such big sins happen like that.
Such sins have a name in religion. What's the name we call such sins?
Adultery or
What's the name we call such sins? It has a name in religion. It's called sacrilege. Okay, sacrilege. Sacrilege means what? It means when you do things against nature, when you do things against instinct or human instinct, like incest, like infanticide, like patricide, like fraternicide. Okay, these kind of crimes, according to religion, are called sacrilege because they are unholy, because they break holy rules. It's called sacrilege. So when do we call society cursed? When sacrilege has been committed with cold blood. That's why Shepard chose specifically such themes for his play to tell you that when society reaches the level of sacrilege, then it will be cursed and it will end itself. Okay? So there is nothing normal about the Dutch family at all. It's quite dysfunctional, disturbed, monstrous family because they combine all kind of sacrileges you can think of. Right? Okay, what time is it? Where is Manal? She's supposed to talk about style. She went with the wind. You are here,
No,
Manal?
Yes, I'm really sorry. The electricity went off earlier. I'm really sorry for that. It wasn't really my fault.
You disappeared, and I was waiting for you because you said you are going to, you will talk about the corn husks. But we already talked about that. So tell us about style.
Okay, so though the play is set in a realistic framework, The Buried Child also incorporates elements of surrealism and absurdism and symbolisms, of course. In this play, many literary devices were used. First, we could talk about symbolism. It appeared in quite a few forms in the play, most of which are very tightly related to nature and fertility. For example, the first one we could talk about is vegetables, which Tilden keeps bringing into the house, claiming they grew in the backyard. This is odd because the fields haven't been planted in years, but Tilden still managed to somehow harvest. This could very well be a hint at how him and his mother managed to conceive a baby, regardless of her age and possibly her menopause. Harvesting anything from their backyard is illogical, and it could also be mirroring his obsessive need to grow life from what seems like a dead field. It is also odd that Tilden's harvest coincides with the unraveling of the family secret.
Yes.
Okay. Which might symbolize how nothing stays hidden underground and how all secrets, no matter how deep they are buried, will always come back to life. The second symbol,
Yes, yes. One of the symbols that the buried child symbolizes is dirty secrets. No matter how hard you try to keep dirty secrets, they will pop up to the surface one day, sooner
yes.
or later. That's another symbolic meaning for the buried child.
The second symbol we can point out is the weather. Throughout the play, it goes from a light rain in the first act to a sunny morning in the third act. Water, and consequently rain, of course, have always been a symbol of cleansing and purification. And in this case, the rain might have symbolized the beginning of the purification process, the cleansing of the character's sins. By the time the secret is out in the open, the sunshine appears to symbolize a new beginning and a brighter one at that, cleared of all impurities of the past that clung onto this family for years. Rain can also be a symbol of darkness and sadness. It was falling at the beginning of the play, which gave it some sort of melancholic vibe, but then we realized that it is the same rain causing the gloominess that also grows the vegetables. So maybe growth can happen because and also despite of hardships. The last symbol I will mention is the dead or the buried child itself. The child marked the beginning of the end of this family. It came and changed all their lives forever. Instead of skeletons in the closet, this family had a real skeleton buried in the backyard. A constant reminder of how dysfunctional and toxic their unit was. To drown and bury a baby was a way for Dodge to also bury his shameful secret, the shameful secret of theirs. This open secret that everyone knows about but no one mentions. The child was a family member that destroyed the family unit. Unearthing him symbolized the secret finally floating to the surface, to be seen by all. It is also very poetic that the burial of the child marked the end of the family life, and his unearthing marked the end of Dodge's life. The play also employs a few metaphors. For example, when Haley talks about her son Ansel, and how he was, quote unquote, blinded by love, insinuating, of course, that he couldn't see how bad his wife was, the same wife that Haley refers to as a witch, again to imply how she not only made Ansel fall in love with her, but also how she took his life, as all bad witches supposedly do. The play also presents us with a few distinct male archetypes. We've got Dodge, the father, the head of the family, and the one who makes the decisions regardless of how the others feel. Then we have Tilden, a son so twisted that he lusted and conceived the child with his own mother, reminding us of the very
Oh,
famous
no,
character.
no, no. No, 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 Mana, stop there. Tilden is mentally retarded.
Yes.
So he had no idea of what he was doing. He was abused by the mother. There's a huge difference.
Okay.
He is mentally disabled.
So we
So
cannot say that
we cannot say that he is lustful or he is bad or he's a sinner. He's like a child
Mhm.
who is unable to understand that what he's doing is a sin. And if you have read the text, you would have seen how childlike he is. He has a mental problem. So the complete fault is Haley's fault.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we have Bradley, who exhibits very basic and typical middle child characteristics, seeking attention and getting it even if it means he has to bully the people around him. He expresses his feelings and inner turmoil in the worst way, trying to mask his fear, inferiority complex, and parents' disregard with aggression. The third son, of course, Ansel, is depicted as a hero and remembered with fondness, despite him probably not deserving it. This adoration for a dead relative is very similar to the one portrayed in The Death of a Salesman, where the main character idolizes his deceased brother. The last male figure is Vince, the least corrupted male character in the play, representing the prodigal son coming back to sit on the throne after his grandfather's passing. looking for his roots and seeking some kind of sense of identity and belonging. Not to forget Father Lewis, of course, a man of quote unquote God, doing exactly what God forbade. Ironic, but not surprising, especially for the era that Shepard set the story in. Not only did the priest commit the sin of the flesh, he also committed it with a married woman. This heavy portrayal of archetypes, as well as all the very dramatic, as well as the very dramatic, shocking plot, makes this play somehow timeless. It could have been set in any era and would still have fit.
Yes.
The farm can also be a symbol of something. It's the symbol of decay and misery, psychological issues being passed down from an older generation to a younger, more oblivious generation. The play ultimately had hidden meanings and moral lessons, making it an allegory, as it is the case in for postmodern works. The play also contains Gothic features and uses very Gothic themes and devices like confused chronology, twisted sexual practices, death, resurrection, chaos, blurred identities, to say the least. This fragmentation in the play mirrors the character's own dysfunction and disengagement with normal life.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot. All right. Now, before I go to the person who's responsible for characters, I would like to ask you, whom is the most character that you disliked in the play, and why?
Can I say? I think it's Haley. I really deeply disliked her and
Okay.
what she represents. I'm sorry to say this, but
No, why are you sorry? Why are you sorry? I hate her also. I don't like her
think
also, yeah.
she's awful on all levels, as a wife, as a mother, as a woman, as a part of this family, as a part of society. She is awful. She's done nothing, not one good deed, nothing.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. And by the way, Shepard made that on purpose because, you know, mothers are the, how would we say it, are the uh, focal point in a family. Mothers hold all together, hold things up together. So when mother is the one who is committing all kind of sacrileges, then what do you expect from the rest of the family? Okay, Shepard did that on purpose. Okay, the rest. Which character did you dislike the most?
Yes, doctor.
Mm?
I think Dodge.
Dodge, yeah.
Because he was irresponsible. He didn't do anything to change the life of his family. I think he's the main cause of what's happened. He didn't take his responsibility to fix his relation with his wife, to do something new, and that is the cause of what happened with that family, with the mother and that son.
Okay, okay. Okay, others, what do you think? Whom did you dislike the most?
Yes, Dexter.
Mm.
I will go with Hildy and Father Davis because both of them makes it fair, and especially Father Davis because he was a priest, I think. So
Yes.
for me, Father Davis.
Oh, poor Father Deuce. But he done nothing except having some fun. What about the terrible
Because
crimes
he's a
that have
priest.
been
How can
have been
do
dealt?
something like that?
Yeah, definitely, of course, of course. We have here an indirect criticism on religious men, of course, not all of them, but such kind of men who take religion as a cover. We have this another theme, although minor theme, but still, it's important. Yes, okay. What else? I don't know why people keep on being silent. Very strange. Yes?
I am agree with Yasin. think that the father Lewis, he is secular man. He is secular religion man.
Is what?
He is a secular man,
Okay.
which means that that's related to secularization in religion, because there is a cover. He takes religion as a cover, as an umbrella. Like that.
Okay. All right. Now, who's responsible for characters? Who's supposed to tell us?
Okay, so first of all, Dodge is the patriarch of the family. He's in his 70s.
Well, you are responsible of character, but when I ask which character you dislike the most, you kept silent. Why?
Because I literally was gonna say the same thing as Manal. Character I dislike the most is Haley.
Why didn't you share with us with your opinion?
It's exactly the same reason.
Okay, go on.
The play shows the final days of Dodge while being ill and an alcoholic. He cannot take care of himself and the influence over his family. He spends his days on his sofa watching TV and drinking even though he's not supposed to. He has a tense relationship with his wife and always arguing. The second character is Haley. She's the wife and mother of the family. She's distracted and busy for most of the play. She can only be heard at the beginning of the first act. Her life is almost completely separate from her husband, even the scene. She often
Sorry, we
talks about her
cannot hear.
Your voice is very low. Can you raise your voice?
Yeah, can you hear me now? Is it better?
Yeah, somehow. Yeah.
Okay. She often
Actually, barely we can hear you, so you can fix it or do something.
I am next on
Your voice is cutting up. So can you change your position to go to nearer to?
I did. I'm next to the speaker.
Okay.
She often talks about her dead son Ansel, who is her favorite. She has other relationships out of wedlock, including Father Dewis, and even her own son Tilden, resulting in a child. Next up, Tilden is the oldest child of the family. He's around 40 years old and still living with his family. Haley brags about his past as an All-American football star, even though he is almost useless now. Tilden had a child named Vince, and one with his own mother that his dad ended up killing. Vince is Tilden's oldest son. He returns home with his girlfriend after 6 years. He plays the saxophone and wears nice clothes, and he is a representation of confident youth. Nobody recognized him when he came back. Shirley, she's Vince's girlfriend. She's amused by his family, even after being scared of and uncomfortable at the beginning. She's from Los Angeles. The same thing that pulled her at the beginning is what pushed her in the relationship with Vince at the end. Father Dewis is a respected religious leader who is also a hypocrite. He's having an affair with Haley. He quote unquote spreads his spiritual knowledge while being selfish and two-faced. And last but not least, Bradley, who's Dodge and Haley's middle child. He's a bully and likes seeing others suffer. He chopped off his leg while cutting logs, an accident, and he is controlling but at the same time dependent on others. That's it.
Okay. So, do you have anything to add or any questions before we end today's lecture?
Yes, Doctor, may I? An idea came to my mind when Melissa said she read the text and she notes there is a song of another war or battle, and you said that Venice took the place of his grandfather. May that be referred to that America ideas of subjection, the war, and became the leader of the world and became making more and more wars on the countries like Iraq and Afghanistan, and this things will happen, like what happened to this family, that will happen again and again because these ideas.
Well, this is from a political point of view, but we are not here to cover politics. So if you see it like this, then it's okay. But we cannot go through far-fetched explanation or analysis. This far-fetched analysis, we can't link it to what's happening today because we are not discussing political issues. We are discussing thematic issues. But if you see it in this way, then it's okay. It's up to you. If you see it from this point of view, you understand?
Okay, Dr.
Yeah. Because we are not here to discuss politics. Two things that I always try to keep away from, and I tell my students that politics and religion, because these two things are really sensitive, and it's not our job to analyze these unless if it's connected directly to the work, like for example in Luther, it was talking about what happened in the church. But beside that, other than that, I try always to stay away from politics and religion because both are sensitive matters. Depends on how you see. Not all people agree on one point of view. Okay? All right. Any other questions before
Doctor,
we
I
finish?
have
Yes.
something.
Mm.
I have an assumption, but you may criticize me for this. All of the male characters, I mean the children of Dodge, sorry, anyways, they are disabled. Can we say that they all are a product of incestual crime or
No. For
incestuous
example,
crime?
Vince
Three
is
of them.
no. Why product of incestual? Just a minute. How did that happen? Tilden, Bradley, and Ansel are the children of Haley and Dodge, and they are married. How they are product of incest?
I mean, I don't know.
How?
Three of the children are disabled. One is poor mentally, the other is
Yeah, I know, but they are the children of Dodge and Haley, and Dodge and Haley are married. How it can be incestual?
Yeah. Okay.
Tilden, Bradley, and Ansel, three of them are the sons of Dodge and Haley.
Okay.
Vince is the son of Tilden, but from another. He had a girlfriend once in his life. But the buried child is the product of incest. The dead child. This between Tilden and Haley. But the others, no, they are not product of incest, no. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Actually, well, I was. Can I talk?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So while I was doing a little bit of reading about the play, I came across someone who talked about the god, the Egyptian god Osiris. So basically, he is the god of the underworld, but he is also the god of renewal of life, sprouting of
Fertility.
Yes, through.
When you were gone, because
I'm
of
sorry.
electricity, I talked about fertility myth,
Ah,
but not this figure you are talking about. I was talking about corn husks as being symbol of fertility. They were connected always by the myth of fertility. But this which one? What's the name?
He's an
Who?
Egyptian god. Osiris.
Isis? Osiris. Okay, he's the god of fertility.
Yes, but also the underworld and also the renewal of life, which kind of combines everything that this child kind of represents or something. He is buried underworld and underground. He also comes back to life to spill all their secrets, and he also kind of symbolizes some kind of fertile thingy that happened to the ground, and he gave vegetation.
I talked about that. Go back to the recording.
I will, definitely.
And because I talked about the fertility thing. Okay. Any other things you like to add, people? No? Then, by the way, next week we will not have a lecture. It will be a break. We will meet the week after the feast. Not next Monday. The week after the feast we'll meet. And I'm not sure to make it your final exam or to make it a normal lecture. I have to ask first when final exams are supposed to take place. And then I'll tell you. I'll tell you in the group. We'll either have a normal lecture or it's going to be your final exam, depending on the schedule of exams. But basically, we are not meeting next week. I'm giving myself a holiday because maybe Tuesday will be feast, which means that all of us naturally will be busy with preparations. So we'll have a break. We'll have a holiday for next Monday. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so I
Okay,
appreciate that.
so see you after the feast and happy feast in advance for everybody.